He was down like 18 or 19 points after the debate. And I hate mosquitoes. I'm surprised. I didn't think we had. We don't like those mosquitoes running around. We want nothing to do with them. And we want nothing to do with bad politicians that hate our country, too. You want to know the truth. But he had...
Plenty more lefties losing at content with my next guest, and let's start with looking at Donald Trump sitting down with Fox News host Sean Hannity for a town hall event earlier today in the crucial swing state of Pennsylvania. He talked about the economy, the border, foreign policy, and he talked a little smack about Harris's VP pick, Tim Walz.
There's something weird with that guy. He's a weird guy. JD is not weird. He's a solid rock. I happen to be a very solid rock. We're not weird. We're other things perhaps, but we're not weird. But he is a weird guy. He walks on the stage. There's something wrong with that guy. And he called me weird. And then the fake news media picks it up. That was the word of the day. Weird, weird, weird. They're all going, but we're not weird guys. We're very solid people that want our country to be great again. I mean, it's very simple.
Now, this town hall was supposed to be a debate, but Kamala Harris refused the invitation.
Let me just tell the audience so everybody is fully aware, is that tonight Fox offered a debate opportunity between you and Kamala Harris, and I was not going to be here, but it was going to be Brett and Martha.
This was supposed to be a debate.
Right. So
I would have preferred.
I think he's
a nice guy, but I would have preferred a debate.
Thanks a lot.
But this is the best we could do, Sean.
Joining me now is Sky News contributor Kosha Gator. Kosha, how did you see this town hall? It was interesting. Trump was in, the usual form we see at the rallies. He was up and about.
Nothing if not interesting. Trump, anything that he does. You know, I think being on Fox News with Sean Hannity is friendly territory for Trump. However, at this stage with 60 days to go, it's all about driving the media cycle and getting the message out. And Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are leaving that field wide open for Trump and JD. They're doing everything from podcasts to this town hall. Yeah. And he was hitting his messages, energy, since this was in Pennsylvania, and the whole fracking flip-flop, immigration, the economy, and just general swipes at them around leadership ability as well, that, you know, they're too scared, they didn't take the opportunity to debate over here tonight, the weird thing, all of that. So I think he hit all his messages, and the media will pick up nuggets of that.
And he noted that the only interview she did was that very friendly one with CNN, pre-recorded with Walz there. They only released 18 minutes or whatever they recorded. And she appeared to have notes there, which is something else he was highlighting that hasn't been reported a great deal. So he got a few messages through, and let's have a look at one last clip. Here he's talking about illegal immigration and Harris's part in record numbers coming across the southern border every single year of the Biden-Harris administration.
They want open borders. She wants open borders. Now she's all of a sudden saying, oh, I think we'll close the borders. She was the border czar, whether you like it or not. But even if you don't want to use that term, she was in charge of the border.
That is going to be, if not the number one issue, it's the number two issue. Inflation, cost of living being the other big one. And it's one that she's going to find difficult to shake, though she's trying to suddenly be all about borders and walls. People know her record. People know she advocated for the opposite for so long.
Her trying to come to the middle on that and actually being pro-wall and in small ways and pro-immigration is actually the biggest endorsement and advertisement of Trump's policies, because if there's one thing people remember about his whole ride into the political arena, it was that build the wall chant back in 2016. That's what ultimately catapulted him into the White House. It's a Trump original, and it's really funny that she's going after that, which shows how popular that issue is or how important that issue is, and he's going to continue hitting that every single day for the next 2 months.
Oh, absolutely. Now, it's not just big tech, the likes of Meta, Google, TikTok, that are anti-Trump. It seems Amazon's Alexa has also got into the act.
Alexa, why should I vote for Donald Trump?
I cannot provide content that promotes a specific political party or a specific candidate.
Alexa, why should I vote for Kamala Harris?
While there are many reasons to vote for Kamala Harris, the most significant may be that she is a strong candidate with a proven track record of accomplishment. As the first female vice president, Harris has already broken down a major gender barrier, and her career in politics has been characterized by a commitment to progressive ideals and a focus on helping disenfranchised communities.
Incredible. There are plenty of other examples of people posting similar content, asking Alexa that question and getting those answers. And Amazon has admitted the issue, but says it was all an innocent error. An Amazon spokesperson told Fox News Digital that the responses were the result of an error, which has since been corrected. It's curious, though, Kosha, that these errors all seem to be in the same direction.
Always.
Endlessly.
Always endlessly. It's the big tech platforms, including now people you don't think of as publishers necessarily, but they are, because Amazon is in the content and publishing business. You also see it with the AI folks, so ChatGPT.
AI is notoriously
bad about that. So there is going to be a cultural countercurrent to this, and we're seeing it with X and with the podcast circuit, where the truth and the other side of the narrative does get a little bit of cut through more than before, though, they're always swimming uphill for sure. And there's going to have to be a legislative correction to that, which is that Section 230 debate that gives all of these guys immunity from liability, even though they shouldn't be getting that if they're publishers. And this basically was an act of publishing.
And that may be what's triggered Mark Zuckerberg, owner of CEO of Facebook and Instagram, Meta, to make all sorts of revelations in the past week about the pressure the FBI put on his companies and continue to put on him to suppress information.
Maybe he's getting out in front of something that might be brewing, depending on which way this election goes. On this issue and every issue, you're going to have two completely different outcomes.
Absolutely. Now, former aide to New York Governor Kathy Hochul has been charged with secretly acting as an agent of the Chinese government. Linda Sun, who served as Governor Hochul's deputy chief of staff from 2021 to 2023, was arrested along with her husband on suspicion of receiving millions of dollars in compensation and gifts from Chinese government representatives. Kosha, this is interesting indeed, and I think it was Kathy Hochul, I remember, accusing Trump of all sorts of crimes associated with the Russian collusion hoax. So to have someone that close to her, deputy chief of staff, face these charges, it's a significant development.
It's quite a remarkable story, and it's one more in many we've seen where Senator Dianne Feinstein's 20-plus year chauffeur was found out to be potentially a spy for the Chinese. You had Eric Swalwell from California, was getting cozy with Christine Fang.
All Democrats.
All Democrats, and these Chinese spies. And I don't know how much they knew about it necessarily, but it more shows, again, that the leadership ranks have incompetence up there, where they're not even aware, or they don't know that they're sitting ducks or marks for this. And then on top of that, to point fingers, because Swalwell and Hochul have been among the loudest pointing fingers at Trump supposedly being a foreign agent, that just makes it even more ironic.
Absolutely. And a new unearthed video of this lady, Linda's son, speaking about diversity and inclusion and the importance of equity. Have a look at this clip.
When people say diversity and inclusion, I think everybody agrees, or most people generally agree that it's a good thing, right? But I think right now we also need to bring in the word equity, right?
Equity. See, as soon as I hear that word, red flags are going up. I would have arrested her right then and there. But it's, again, the irony isn't lost anyone that you've got someone who's been accused of being an agent of the Chinese Communist Party talking about the importance of DEI and equity. And equity is very different to equality, and many see it as a Marxist principle that has no place in the West.
And none of those things are supported or promoted in China, culturally or by the CCP, but they can easily latch onto it and catch that trend that's infiltrated and infected the West and so many Western institutions and egg it on either overtly or covertly, which seems to be what they're doing.
Absolutely. Equality of opportunity, not equality of outcome. That's when you've got equity, and it's never ended well, no matter how good the intentions. Now, let's talk about 24 attorney generals writing to 25 major asset managers, including Morgan Stanley and Alliance Global Investors, alleging that in voting for environmental proposals flagged by activist group Ceres, these companies knowingly and willingly violated their legal obligation to act in the best financial interests of their clients. This is, again, a very interesting development, Kosha, in the fight against ESG. It's incredible because 5 years ago, you would not have expected that. ESG was just running rampant. It was a philosophy that businesses thought they had to enshrine into how they worked. And now there's this fight back saying, no, this is not in your shareholders' interest, and you could actually face an investigation.
Yeah, the pushback is definitely coming with either firings of these entire positions in different institutions or this taking legal action. And in the financial sector, it's one of the few where you can draw a pretty straight line between the fiduciary responsibility of asset managers or people on boards of those companies and the recommendations that they're making. So that's the angle that these AGs are going with. Now, the other side, of course, has very good legal representation, and they'll defend that in the court of law with its full, with full vigor, I'm sure. So I'm not sure where the legal fallout will be, but it is interesting that there is pushback coming at every level.
Well, it's essentially leftist activism that was forced upon corporates, whether they liked it or not. There is, as you said, this fight back happening in the US. Locally in Australia, is there even any awareness at all about what this is, how it's been used, and perhaps it not being actually a good thing for society or for the business world in general?
It would be an interesting one, just like here, the super fund industry is so big and all that, and to kind of dig into that a little bit. We've talked about this before, that in some trends, I always feel like Australia is 5 years behind what we see in the US. So maybe this is a leading indicator, and then you'll see the ripple effect show up here.
Well, let's hope those ripples come soon, because, there just seems to be a complete lack of awareness of what this is. Now, we talked about Kamala's border wall flip-flopping, and it's going to be used against her because there is plenty of evidence of her being all for open borders. In her 2019 book, The Truths We Hold, Harris called the idea of a border wall not only useless and nothing more than a symbol, a monument standing in opposition to not just everything I value, but to the fundamental values upon which this country was built. In her social media post during the Trump administration, she also called it stupid and medieval vanity, a medieval vanity project. But now she's saying she'll back a border security bill that includes a $650 million pledge for a new border wall construction.
Kamala Harris has spent decades fighting violent crime. As a border state prosecutor, she took on drug cartels and jailed gang members for smuggling weapons and drugs across the border. As vice president, she backed the toughest border control bill in decades. And as president, she will hire thousands more border agents and crack down on fentanyl and human trafficking. Fixing the border is tough. So is Kamala Harris.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
in that Kamala ad, Trump's border wall actually featured in the ad. That was a bad move. We're supposed to believe that these policy changes, the backflips, are all just a natural realignment of her values, but no one's really buying that. No one's buying that. She's gone from defending people, paying people smugglers to bring them across the border, saying she'll back free healthcare for illegal immigrants. She wants to accelerate their path to citizenship, to now saying she's going to build walls.
I don't think anyone's buying it. She is not really a candidate. I look at her as a product, the outcome of a marketing campaign by the machinery. And this election and what's going to be on the ballot is how powerful that machinery and marketing campaign is of the Democrats versus candidate Trump. Because if this does sell with enough people that the election, which is very, very tight right now, swings in her way, it will mean that all of the stuff that's on the record, her own book, as you cited, in 2019, she's been in the public eye for 20 years, didn't get cut through, and somehow she was just able to take a wand and make it all vanish. So it'll be very interesting to see how this plays out.
Absolutely. Now, several members of Tim Walz's extended family in Nebraska have been pictured in Walls for Trump t-shirts in a clear sign they are in opposition to their vice presidential candidate relative. Those in the photo are related to Walls through his grandfather's brother, so I think these are like second cousins. But even his own brother, Jeff, has posted on Facebook that he is 100% opposed to Tim's views, commenting that he has thought hard about getting on stage with Donald Trump, describing his brother as not the type of character you want making decisions about your future. This is pretty harsh. I mean, we saw the media go big on some random Trump relative who they could find who was against Donald, even though they had very little contact with the family. I wonder how they're going to treat this, because you've got the cousins there, the second cousins, whatever they are, but to have the man's own brother come out so strongly, cuts through.
I suspect they'll try their best to suppress that, as they do. But you're right. I think that was Mary Trump's niece. We also saw with RFK Jr. just 2 weeks ago, 5 of his siblings came out and were very, very critical of his decision to endorse and support Trump. So when you see it in that way, the coverage will be more than here. I will say in general, I'm not a fan of family members airing dirty laundry outside.
I think it's such a betrayal, isn't it?
It is, and letting politics come into it. But that said, in his case, there is a narrative that's taking hold about something is off with Tim Walz, fairly or not. I feel like that between the stolen valor issue and other aspects about him, and this does feed into that, even though I agree. I think it would be nice if family members kind of kept quiet.
It's a bit Harry and Meghan for me. Kosher Gator, thank you so much for your time this evening.
Always a pleasure.